We may ask, one of the state report cards shows, this recent state report card shows 75% of our expenditures are through direct classroom instruction. So we're really proud of overwhelming majority of our dollars are spent in the classroom, with other dollars, so for example, transportation that is not instructional related, transportation maintenance, and other things like that. And so, we like to talk and say we have two issues here. We have a space and a growth issue, but we also have a revenue issue. And this graph really shows where that's coming from. And this is a graph that we've seen many, if you've ever paid attention to our board meetings and looked at the 5-year forecast that we do update in November and May of each fiscal year. You will see this is one of the first graphs that usually we bring up. And I would like to point out, I talked about the 7.9 mil operating levy in issue 12 generating 34.2 million, and always will essentially generate 34.2 million. You really can see that in this blue line and the revenue line, where our revenues remain relatively flat as we continue to go on. But as you can see, through increasing enrollment, increasing staff needs, or whether maybe there's special student needs that we need as more staff labor intensive. And so and inflationary and cost of living adjustments as we keep going forward there continue as expenditures go up. And you can see this kind of leads to where kind of issue and where we're at. If you look at the bottom there in the ending balance, you have a little red circle there. That's when we hit the negative, which is fiscal year 26. And so from a fiscal year perspective, we as a district run on a July 1 to June 30th. We're currently in fiscal year 24 right now. And so in fiscal year 26 is when, if we don't get additional revenue, we're going to have to cut expenses, and so we can allow us to operate one additional year. One last thing is we're not allowed to, unlike the federal government, operate in a negative. We have to have a positive cash balance. If we don't, I know we have to file every time we do a 5-year forecast update with the Ohio Department of Education, and they don't like it too well when we have negative cash balances. They could potentially come in if that would continue and do a takeover of the district for financial purposes.
So as Mr. Kern mentioned, we're in fiscal year 24. We run out of money in fiscal year 26. And so we have a revenue problem. We also have a growth challenge. The Dublin City Schools are expected to grow by 270 students a year through the early 2030s. 270 students a year is a new elementary school every 3 years. Abraham Depp Elementary was built to house about 750 students. We already redistricted 150 students out 2 years ago. This year, we brought 12 modular classrooms to Depp. We brought those modular classrooms thinking that we would use 6 classrooms this year and 6 classrooms next year. We are already in 11 of those 12 classrooms this year. If nothing is done by 2027, Abraham Depp would reach double the capacity. When you look at Eversole Run was built for about 1,000 students. Next school year, we get to 998. And in 26-27, we exceed the capacity of Eversole Run Middle School. Dublin Jerome just had a 60,000 square foot addition there. 60,000 square foot addition added 23 classrooms to Jerome High School. As you can see at this chart, with the addition of Jerome in 26-27, we begin to run out of space at Jerome High School. And contrary to popular opinion, there's not a lot of extra space over at Scioto. Scioto has over 1,450 students in it. We could fit another 100 kiddos or so over at Scioto, but Scioto is not empty and does not have a lot of space. So when we look at all of our grade levels, we start to reach or exceed capacity very quickly. The proposed residential developments that we're talking about as we plan for the future aren't limited to Jerome Village. The big red circle in the northwest part of our district map represents Jerome Village and the areas around Jerome Village. Jerome Village, which was originally zoned for 1,700 students, 1,700 homes, then went to 2,400 homes. Now they plan for over 5,000 homes in and around Jerome Village. So that growth up there is real and it is happening at an exponential pace. I drove by just this week the old athletic club at Sawmill. That's represented by the small dot with the letter D. The city of Columbus has zoned this as part of a CRA, a community reinvestment area. They're building 200 multi-bedroom units there. It's labeled affordable housing, and they granted a 15-year 100% tax abatement for that area. When you look at some of the other dots, these are all proposals that have been before planning and zoning in one of our areas, in some of our neighborhoods. And we think about Metro Place, we think about Dublin Village. And when people say, well, what could that really happen? For those folks who have been here for a while, if I had told you a decade ago that Anderson's would be multifamily housing, you wouldn't have believed that that would happen. So we continue to monitor the growth and the potential growth in all parts of the school district.